Good afternoon, Iona. Sorry for the technical difficulties. This is the Antonio and Matt Sports Hour, brought to you every Thursday between 12 and 1. Unfortunately, Antonio is feeling ill today, so it'll just be Matt Brownstein solo. We wish Antonio all the best, though, getting better. Um, Wanted to talk about today a little bit about the upcoming baseball season. Baseball is right around the corner. We've got about a week left before pitchers and catchers have to report to Florida and Arizona, respectively. And I want to start off with the local teams. Wanted to talk a little bit about the Yankees to start off with. And, it was really unlike the Yankees this offseason to not go out and make any big splashes. Usually we're so used to the Yankees going out and investing a lot of money, in like a Max Scherzer or James Shields or Pablo Sandoval, Hanley Ramirez type player. But for the Yankees, very quiet offseason. They did go out and acquire Didi Gregorius. To replace the iconic Derek Jeter, and which is going to be very odd to watch. Derek Jeter obviously has been an iconic Yankee for the last 20 years and has been entrenched there. It's going to be really weird not seeing number two wearing pinstripes on opening day. But, Gregorius is a good pickup for them. He's a good defensive shortstop. Offensively, a little left to be desired. Unfortunately, we haven't really seen much from him yet. He did hit pretty well when he got sent down to AAA last year in Reno. But Gregorius is a good gamble. He's still young enough. He's about 25 years old to see if he can, become some kind of offensive major leaguer. I think the Yankees would take good defense and maybe like a 260 to 270 batting average from Gregorius. Obviously, he's not going to replace Jeter at all in the least bit in terms of the intangibles and coming through in the clutch. But for what was available and what was out there, besides going after Hanley Ramirez, who was more of a third baseman at this point than a shortstop, I think that there was a good move by the Yankees to go out and get a guy who's still young enough to develop and have a chance to really secure a spot in that shortstop position for a while. The other moves that the Yankees made was they got Nathan Eovaldi from the Miami Marlins. They traded Martin Prado, though, which I think is going to hurt them in the long run because Prado, to me, is a player that is very versatile. He's not a utility player in the sense that he's a bench guy. He's a starter for all intents and purposes, but he can play multiple positions, outfield, second, third. Really a good all-around hitter too. He's not much of a power hitter, but he's a very good gap-to-gap line drive hitter who did very well with Atlanta, with the Diamondbacks, and with the Yankees when they acquired him. So it'll be interesting to see how the Yankees go forward without him. I think it's going to hurt obviously offensively going with Steven Drew at second base instead of Martin Prado. If they could have gotten Nathan Eovaldi, for a different package instead of having to include Prado in that deal, I definitely would have tried to do that with the Marlins instead of giving up Prado. But the Yankees are going to go with Steven Drew. They re-signed Drew to a one-year deal. I believe it was worth $5 million to play second base. They're also banking on a lot of health. They definitely want Teixeira to bounce back. Will he be able to play 140 games this year? Remains to be seen. Teixeira has been declining ever since about 2010. Health has been a major concern for him over that time period. He wasn't the same player. I mean, the Yankees signed a guy that was, a prototypical 30 and 100 guy every year. And, he had a couple seasons like that for the Yankees. But besides that, he really has not really played well in the clutch postseason-wise, except for a couple of games in 2009 in the World Series and the playoffs. Really hasn't produced much, and he's failed to stay healthy. He's failed to stay healthy, and that's a big thing. Losing that middle of the order bat for the Yankees is really going to be a downfall for them if they don't have him health-wise, along with Beltran and Ellsbury staying healthy. You really want to see the Yankees this year have the key guys that they brought in last year, which was Beltran and McCann and Ellsbury, really continue to play well. Ellsbury had a good year last year for the Yankees. McCann, for his early struggles, still finished with 23 home runs and 75 RBIs. So McCann, really, I don't see him as much of a worry. He's also brought in for leadership. He's a really good veteran leader at behind the dish for the Yankees. He's kind of like the de facto captain, I feel. Although he's only been there for a year, I think McCann really proves to the Yankees that he can really lead by example on how he plays on the field and off the field as well. So I like McCann behind the dish. I think the Yankees have a good catcher there. Obviously, Teixeira at first is still a question mark for health-wise. Second base, a lot of Yankee fans wanted to see this kid Rob Refsnyder, who raked in AAA last year, have a chance to prove himself. And he has an interesting story too. There was a story in the Daily News the other day, which I definitely recommend reading, about his upbringing. He was an adopted kid. Fought through a lot of adversity growing up, and it's interesting to see and read his progression really wasn't thought of as a big time prospect, but he's opened a lot of Yankee brass eyes over the last year and a half, and a lot of Yankee fans want to see him get a spot. He might, if he really does well in spring training and forces himself into the lineup. We've seen that before in spring training where guys just have huge springs and you really can't not have him play in the big leagues. So, unless Drew really really does terrible in spring training and goes 0 for 40, and Ref Snyder is just raking. I predict Drew will be the second baseman, but I wouldn't doubt seeing Ref Snyder sometime maybe June or July getting a call up, especially if Drew kind of falters a little bit or gets injured because he has a little bit of injury history himself. Obviously, around the horn, then you still have Gregorius now at short. You have Headley at third base, who the Yankees signed for 4 years, replacing Alex Rodriguez, who was in the news recently as well. Get to that in a little bit. A-Rod should be the DH for the most part. In the outfield, you have Gardner, you have Ellsbury, you have Beltran. Beltran scares me a little bit too. Obviously, he's 37, 38. Had some injury issues last year as well, and health is going to be an issue with him. That's why it's a little surprising. I mean, I know the whole Alex Rodriguez fiasco is a disaster, and they still owe him $60+ million. Not to mention the incentives for the home run milestones that he still owed. But you wanted. I personally, I wanted to keep that DH spot open for Beltran and Teixeira, just to give them a little days off here and there, where you could still get their bat in the lineup, but not necessarily hurt their bodies at all. Beltran, to me, cannot play 130+ games in right field every day. He just can't. He's at that age now where he really is more relegated and better suited for the DH role. So I'm sure he'll get his spot starts at DH, maybe even get a couple starts at first base potentially, along with McCann, who'll probably get a couple starts at first base. But to me, Alex Rodriguez really hurts the Yankees, obviously financially, and also in filling the gaps that the Yankees need to have their other players stay healthy, because we really don't know what we're going to get from Alex Rodriguez this coming year. To me, Alex Rodriguez has lost all credibility whatsoever. Who knows when he started using steroids? We don't even know. We were led to believe that it was just during Texas, and then it comes out that he's been using it with the Yankees. Who's to say he hasn't been using it, since in high school or the Mariners? It's really a shame, because a lot of people thought that A-Rod was going to be the guy that was going to break all the home run records and do it the right way. And for him to still come out and say that he wants Bond's record, to me, is a joke. Both of those guys, should never sniff the Hall of Fame. Both of those guys disgrace the sport. While there's more terrible things happening in different sports with the NFL and domestic violence and the brain concussions and all that stuff. I mean, what A-Rod did and what Barry Bonds did was they cheated, and they have to live with the repercussions that they're dealt. And to me, what A-Rod did was inexcusable, because he didn't just lie once. He lied multiple times, and he even went after the Yankees and their brass and their whole organization. So a couple days ago, he met with them at Yankee Stadium to clear the air, apologized profusely, apparently, according to the Daily News, and begged for their forgiveness. And the Yankees basically just sat back and said, "Listen, we owe you this money. We're gonna pay you. We don't want to pay the incentives though." And I'm sure they're gonna work out a way that they won't have to, because to me, paying him $6 million to break Willie Mays' records and then go past Babe Ruth, or go past Hank Aaron, and go past even Barry Bonds if he even gets there, to me is a joke. So they don't owe him that money at all. I think if A-Rod has any kind of class left in him, he would just let the Yankees not pay him that money, or donate that to charity, because that to me is just a shamble and a joke. So you have the Yankees there. Obviously, the pitching staff, it's questionable too. You have ace de facto in Tanaka, but we don't know how healthy his arm is going to hold up. Didn't go for surgery, which I thought was a little bit of a mistake. To me personally, I think nowadays with the way surgery is and the way that health and how pitchers come back healthier once they have Tommy John surgery, for Tanaka not to have surgery at a young age of 25, I think they should have done it, especially because the Yankees signed him to a long-term deal. I believe it was a 7-year deal. So you want to have him, and even if he misses this year, to me, I don't know if the Yankees are even if Tanaka was healthy, I don't really see them contending. I could see them being more of a 500 team right now as currently constituted. Now, could things change? Sure. The Yankees could revert back to the Yankee way and during the trade deadline make a big splash. They've known to do that in the past, so they could definitely do that. But in the offseason this year, they really stood pat and didn't go after any of these high prolific players that we're so accustomed to the Yankees going after. To me, it's a little disconcerting to not have the Yankees, the almighty Yankees, go after a guy. Um, so I think that the Yankees really need to stand pat for now, and see what it comes available in the offseason of next year, or if someone comes along in the trade deadline. If the Yankees can make a package for Cole Hamels, that would really bolster their starting pitching rotation, obviously. Then I'd say you go ahead and do that. But other than that, it's one of those things that the Yankees are going in with a lot of question marks, and it's gonna be a tough division too. The Red Sox obviously upgraded at their in multiple spots. They got Pablo Sandoval, got Hanley Ramirez to play short. Got a lot of good, solid 2 and 3 pitchers. Rick Porcello types, Justin Masterson types. They don't really have an ace. I guess Clay Buchholz, if he's healthy, could be an ace. But a lot of people were hoping that the Red Sox will go out and get Hamels, because I think if they got Hamels, if they gave up a couple of their top prospects, one being catcher Blake Swihart, I think that really would have solidified them as the number one team in the AL East division. But right now, I think it's still up for grabs. I really like what the Blue Jays have done too. Blue Jays went out and they signed Russell Martin to a 5-year deal. Went out and traded for Josh Donaldson, probably one of the best third basemen in baseball the last couple of years, with Oakland, to go along with Edwin Encarnacion and Jose Bautista in right field. So they have a tremendous lineup. The pitching staff is a little where it scares me. I mean, obviously you have stalwarts in Mark Burley, who started off red hot last year in the first half and then just kind of um, regressed after the All-Star break. R.A. Dickey, who's there too as well. But these guys, are getting up in age. They don't really have, they have a couple of good young kids, and Marcus Stroman, Kyle Drabeck, but they don't have a quote unquote ace guy that's going to lead their staff either. So I thought it was imperative for Alex Anthopoulos, the GM of the Toronto Blue Jays, to go out and make a deal with one of these, to get a pitcher. Even a James Shields would have been nice. If it was possible that the Blue Jays could have gotten James Shields, and knew that it was only going to be that 4 years, $75 million that he signed with the Padres, I think the Blue Jays should have done that. I think it was a mistake that they didn't. And we're going to get to the Padres in a minute, because the Padres, to me, wow. I mean, every day there was something new going on with the Padres, or a new player that they were acquiring, and it was really fun to watch and see the new GM, AJ Preller, go out and get all these big stars and trades and spend the money. And usually we don't associate San Diego with going out and doing all these kind of deals for these guys. So very interesting to see. We're gonna take a quick break, and we'll get back to talking about the newly revamped San Diego Padres when we get back.